All right, Matt the Mortgage Guy here, recording a quick video to talk about the pros and cons of allowing Section 8 tenants. Now, I'm going to give my feedback and my personal experience in here. So, as most humans are, I'm probably going to be biased because I have direct experience with Section 8 tenants on my own. So when I get into the pros and cons, I might be a little bit biased towards the pros because I've had really good experiences in the past with Section 8 tenants. So first and foremost, if you don't know what a Section 8 tenant is, a Section 8 tenant is somebody who's getting a government subsidy for housing. The local housing authorities provide rental assistance for low-income folks, and so they set the standard of what the housing requirements are, and then based on 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, 4 bedroom, they're going to pay a landlord a certain amount for that housing. And based on the person's income and some other factors, that tenant who is a Section 8 recipient is going to pay a certain percentage of the rent. And so one of the pros is that every single month, if the rent is $825 and the housing agency is paying $760 and the tenant is paying $65, that $760 is being direct deposited the first of the month, every single month. You can count on it. And if you have any rental properties in B-, C+, C neighborhoods, you know that rents can be late, people can fall behind, and it can be difficult to collect rents. In a scenario like this, where 90+% of the rent is guaranteed to a certain extent, you're in good hands. And really, the tenant who's paying the 65 portion is going to be very highly motivated to pay that. They don't want to lose a subsidy where they're paying $65 a month in rent. Along those same lines, another pro is that they've got an interest in not losing that voucher. And so if you've got quality property management in place, property management is going to remind them and help them. You've got to keep the house that you're renting cleanly. You've got to adhere to certain guidelines set forth by the housing agency to keep this voucher. They're going to want to inspect the house from time to time. In most places, it's once a year, to make sure that it's meeting the standards for Section 8 housing. And so you can't let the house fall into disrepair, or you risk losing that voucher. And I don't know about you, but if I was getting assistance and I only had to pay $65 a month in rent, I would make sure I did everything in my power to not lose that voucher. And a quick story from a personal experience, I had a tenant that I bought the property and they're already there. So I inherited a Section 8 tenant and had a really good property manager who had managed apartments, who had worked with a lot of Section 8 tenants. And one of the cons that you'll hear, like I've read on Bigger Pockets, I've read on other forums that, Section 8 tenants, for whatever reason, not judging or saying this is all of them, but they might not be as cleanly, they might not keep the property up as well as others, and it could be for a variety of factors. It could be because they don't have a lot of means as far as money to keep the property up or to keep it in good shape. And the forums I've read talk about trash will pile up and things will fall into disrepair for whatever the reason is. Those are the cons. But if you have a good property manager, and this is my personal opinion, again, me being biased because I've had great experience, the property manager goes to them. And I had this inherited tenant who had the backyard stuffed with old bicycles, trash, couches. I mean, it was just like a garbage can in this 20 by 15 backyard. And the front yard was half as bad as the back. My property manager kindly and politely said, I don't want you to lose your voucher, and I don't want to have to go to the housing authority and tell them that it's as bad as it is. So have this stuff cleaned up by Friday and we're all good. Gave them 5 days. Get it cleaned up. You have to, or you're going to lose your voucher. I'm going to talk to the housing authority and they're going to require cleanup. They're not going to allow us to continue to rent to you because the housing authority has a standard. They want you to live in a clean, well-kept house. And so me as the landlord on my side, I've got to do my part to keep the property in decent condition, but so does the tenant. And so in this case, I drove by that place and it was spick and span. And I talked to my property manager, said, that's pretty cool. That works. And everybody benefits, right? So that is my personal experience. And I've got a couple different Section 8 tenants in different units that I've had similar experience with. They're getting a subsidy of 90+%. The Housing Authority direct deposits, and that is a sweet thing as a landlord to not have to worry about it and see if they're paying rent on the 3rd or the 5th or the 7th or the 11th, have the property manager chase them and 3-day notice, and all that stuff that you really truly want to avoid as a landlord can be done if you're able to properly, and here's the caveat, right? I've heard and seen a bunch of great experiences like mine, as long as whoever's managing the property, if you're managing it yourself, then this is on you. If you have a property manager, it's your job as a landlord to make sure you've got a quality one that really knows how to handle Section 8 tenants and just work with them so that everybody wins. They keep the property to a certain standard. You have that same agreement where if something falls in disrepair, you're going to repair it and provide that quality housing to them. And in return, they're going to get their housing subsidized and you're going to get your rent subsidized. I think it's a great program. I think that it helps those that need the help. And when done correctly like this, everyone's a winner, you know? And in other circumstances where there's not that third party mediation, you know, a house can fall into some nasty disrepair. And if you've seen some of the housing in some of these C-, D+ neighborhoods, it's not the way anybody should be living. And you know, it truly saddens me when you walk through a fourplex and there's cockroaches and you've got a baby's crib, and you know, that's not way for anybody to live. It's especially disheartening when there's kids. But you know, the Section 8, in my opinion, if done correctly, it is a great program that benefits all parties. I don't know if I can think of another con. I tried to poke around and see what folks were talking about online. You know, I think people who have bad experiences don't realize that the bad tenants that don't pay, that you got to fight to evict, and there's cockroaches and there's disrepair and there's all that, are stuff that you're probably going to find with Section 8 tenants and non-Section 8 tenants. There's just a percentage of the population that are going to be bad tenants, whether they're Section 8 or not. So my advice, and in closing, I will say, make sure you do a good job vetting to get your quality tenants, and your property manager is working with them, and you don't have to use leverage in a threatening way. You can use it in a positive way, that we're going to hold up our end of the bargain. We expect you to hold up your end of the bargain. And in return, you get this great subsidy. You're at no risk to losing it. And we get paid rent on time. So that's that. Any questions at all, please feel free to reach out. Matt@mattthemortgageguy.com. Thanks for watching.